Hello, my name is Chad Collins and welcome to my multimedia video presentation. My subject today will be Fort Ancient, a Paleo Woodland Wonder. Ohio is home to a vast and rich archaeological history of indigenous culture, from prehistoric Paleo-Indian artifacts to early woodland Adena earthworks to the sophisticated art and religious symbols of the Hopewell to an overlapping eastern agricultural complex characterized by an advanced horticultural collection of plants and food cultivation. Ohio has become the epicenter of archaeological attention by the entire world. In this presentation, I will address some of the most important discoveries that have been revealed at Fort Ancient and other archaeological sites in the Ohio Valley. Here is a photo of a map of Fort Ancient. Fort Ancient is a museum located in Oregonio, Ohio. Fort Ancient is operated by the Boonshoff Museum of Discovery in association with the Dayton Society of Natural History and Ohio History Connection. Fort Ancient is on the U.S. tentative list for UNESCO World Heritage status. The museum has partnered with the Ohio Historical Society, the National Park Service, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation to repair damage caused by erosion and prevent further damage. Here is a photo of two mounds located inside Fort Ancient. In 2005, Dr. Jared Burks of Ohio Valley Archaeology Incorporated began remote sensing surveys of Fort Ancient. In 2006, Dr. Robert Riordan of Wright State University began excavations on Fort Ancient. Much effort has been exerted to preserve the original features of Fort Ancient and prevent the removal of cultural artifacts and features from the context of the original site, though early European settlers caused much damage. According to the archaeologist Robert Connolly, most of the mounds at Fort Ancient were not designed for burial purposes, but were most likely used for smoke signals due to burnt limestone and soil atop the mounds. Robert Connolly also argues that these mounds may have also served the purpose of marking the entry of Fort Ancient. Here is a photo of a mound that has been covered with limestone. Archaeologists have theorized that Paleo-Indians migrated to Ohio sometime between 13,000 and 8,000 BC during the Ice Age. They most likely hunted mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, giant beavers, and various other megafauna. Here's a photo of a replica of what the early indigenous people of the Ohio Valley might have looked like. Here's a photo of a mastodon that has been excavated from the Ohio Valley. The early woodland period of 1000 BC to AD 50 of the Fort Ancient location of the Ohio River Valley is attributed to the Adena people. The Adena were hunters, fishers, gatherers, and horticulturalists. They cultivated sumpweed, sunflower, goosefoot, barley, squash, and maygrass. This level of horticulture has been termed the Eastern Agricultural Complex. Adena burial rituals were determined by wealth and status. Here is a photo of a replica of a hut that some of the early indigenous people of Ohio might have lived in. Mounds and compounds were constructed near the edge of river valleys. The Hopewell people of the Middle Woodland period of 50 BC to AD 450 most likely lived in permanent settlements called hamlets rather than villages. Hopewell houses would evolve from Edina circular compounds to square log buildings. The Hopewell economy emphasized stability rather than excess wealth. Burial rituals were determined by status. While cremation of the deceased was common, some with high status were buried in mounds. Here's a photo of some pottery that has been excavated in the Ohio Valley. The Adena people utilized and decorated pottery. Both the Adena and Hopewell traded ritual knowledge, copper, seashells, mica, galena, pearls, steatite, silver, and hematite, and/or flint, which were obtained along various trade routes between the Great Lakes, the Appalachian Mountains, the Rocky Mountains, the Atlantic and Gulf Coasts, Illinois, and Missouri. Hopewell artwork included carved stone effigies of various animals. Pipe effigies would face the user to possibly represent protection from the shaman. Hopewell's status was determined less by wealth and more by charisma, social and religious position, whereas Adena's status was determined more by wealth and long-distance trade. Here is a series of photos of various artifacts that have been excavated from the Ohio Valley. I think this particular piece deserves some attention. We've talked a lot about in this class about the return of Native American remains to the descendants of the indigenous people, and I think this one deserves the attention. This is an engraved human bone whistle. So this is an actual human bone. So if there, this is important because this is what our class has been about. And I think that if someone can prove that they are descendants of the Adena or Hopewell people, this particular piece could possibly be returned to the descendants of those people. Throughout this course, we have discussed issues around religious freedom in connection with sacred land and the destruction that modern archaeologists and museums have caused on such sacred sites. I feel a personal responsibility as an Ohio native and an academic of Indigenous law to be involved in the protection of this incredible monument of Indigenous culture. Though the Archaeological Resources Protection Act of 1979 grants permits for the excavation of archaeological resources in the public interest as U.S. government property, the National Museum of the American Indian Act of 2004 can provide the preservation and accessibility of those artifacts until the rightful return of these artifacts and remains to the recognized descendants of the Adena and Hopewell people. Here is a list of my references. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for viewing my presentation. I hope it was enjoyable and informative. And I just want to say that the Adena and Hopewell people of the Ohio River Valley are very important to me, but I also think that it's important to the rest of the U.S. and to the entire world. I think a lot of people can possibly trace their roots back to this particular group of people, and obviously with the UNESCO, the United Nations uh, possibly granting status to this particular museum, I think says a lot about this museum and the possibility that it could continue to grow as an organization, and that maybe one day we can see some of these artifacts returned back to the descendants of these people, and peace and harmony might be restored. So thank you so much for viewing my presentation. I look forward to hearing from you in the discussion. You've been a wonderful class, amazing colleagues, amazing teachers, amazing content that we've been researching. And I look forward to taking this information and the information that I learned from your presentations and taking it out into my community and my tribe and my family and applying it for further research. Thank you again.